The Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leisure Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to the Paracave Podcast. Troy Warner here. And look, yesterday on Instagram, on the Instagram page, the Paracave Podcast, I did up a bit of a questionnaire where you could throw in your NRL questions. And I did have a couple of people respond back to me. So I thought I'd do a little bit of a podcast with their questions and also give my answers to them as well. I have given my answers to them privately, but I thought I'd make it public now with this podcast. And the first one comes from a Jess God 94 on Instagram, and that's Jesse Godfrey, I think. Massive St George Illawarra Dragons fan. He's actually involved in, I think it's the Mad Dragons podcast, I think it is. I have been a guest on their show previously, and he sent through with the news the other day of Dean Young, the current St George Illawarra Dragons assistant coach to Shane Flanagan, the news of him being touted as a potential head coach for the Parramatta Eels in 2025. His name has been mentioned alongside Jason Riles and Josh Hannay. And his question was, thoughts on Dean Young as your potential coach and Wayne Bennetts' reference of him. Now, good question. Thank you, Jesse, for sending that one through. I really appreciate that one. Look, I have spoken to a few people that know Dean Young, and they have said that he is a very good coach. And look, his coaching record probably isn't the best. He has mostly done assistant coaching. He has had 7 games as a head coach in the NRL. In 2020, he coached 6 games for 2 wins, 4 losses, a 33% win ratio. Now, let's not forget that at that time the Dragons were struggling in that 2020 season. I think Dean took over from Paul McGregor at the time, I think it was, at that year. So it was late in the year, the Dragons were struggling, and the 2 wins there, funnily enough, were against, these 2 wins there were against Melbourne and also against Brisbane as well at Suncorp. So some good wins there, but as I said, St George were struggling during that year. 2021, he had 1 game in charge of the North Queensland Cowboys, where they lost to Newcastle 38-0. Look, but a lot of people have said that he is a good defensive coach. Obviously, the Cowboys in 2022 made the preliminary final, and one of the reasons why they made that prelim final was because of the Cowboys' defence. Now, obviously, he has contracted at the Dragons as an assistant coach to Shane Flanagan, and look, I'm pretty much certain that Shane would not stand in his way if a head coaching position would come his way. Also, as well, Dean did coach Tonga, a national side, against New Zealand in 2022, and look, they had a squad of some really good names in there. Will Penasini from Parramatta, Moses Sully, Sione Katoa, Katoni Staggs, Adam Fanua-Blake, Satili Tupunua, Jason Taumalolo. So he was also, they were co-coaching with Christian Wolf as well. So, and that was against a New Zealand side. And look, as I said before, Shane Flanagan wouldn't stand in his way if a head coaching position came his way. He hasn't had that much experience as a head coach, but as an assistant, he has been an assistant at St George Illawarra previously, and also the North Queensland Cowboys as well. Football's in his blood. Also, the comments from Wayne Bennett as well. He gave him a good reference as well. And those quotes were in the Sydney Morning Herald just a couple of days ago. Look, Wayne Bennett and Dean Young have had a long association with each other. Dean was a player at St George Illawarra when they won the premiership in 2010. Wayne was obviously the coach, and just a couple of those quotes that Wayne Bennett did say about Dean Young was, "You can't coach if you can't lead." He ticks that box. He's an outstanding person, simple as that. When you go through all the details of what makes someone outstanding, that's what he is. And there's a couple of other quotes in there as well, but the big one that stands out for me in that article is, this is from Wayne Bennett in that Sydney Morning Herald article, was, "I wouldn't have tried to hire him if I didn't think he could handle," in brackets, NRL coaching. Bennett said, "I know he is one of the most outstanding players I've ever coached, someone I regard as a very close friend. You have to remember that guy played with half a leg with one leg in relation," and that was the end of the quote, and that was in relation to he got a staph in his leg at the time and couldn't train most of the time. So Wayne knows Dean Young's qualities, and for someone to come out and say something like that, as in, "I wouldn't have tried to hire him if I didn't think he could handle it," I guess that sounds pretty good indeed as a reference in regards to potentially coming the Parramatta Eels head coach. So yeah, that is a big tick from Wayne Bennett in regards to Dean Young. So he, as I said before, he's had 2 stints at the Dragons, 3 years at the North Queensland Cowboys under Todd Payten, as well as that coaching role with Tonga and also the Indigenous All-Stars as well. So a lot of people rate Dean Young, and he is one of the contenders to take over that Parramatta Eels head coaching job. The second question that came from on that questionnaire that I put up on Instagram comes from a Darren Sizio. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. A Parramatta Eels fan and a supporter of the podcast. Now, his question was, "I am a no, but your thoughts on whether Para should have been handed the 09 Grand Final." Now, I get asked this a little bit from fans about that time. Obviously, it came out in 2010 that the Melbourne Storm had breached the salary cap of 2009 and previously, and that some people were suggesting that Parramatta should have been awarded that premiership of 2009. Look, as a Parramatta Eels fan, it's obviously tough to lose a grand final. Where I sort of, I guess, stand on this one is, look, some people have said this as well, that I honestly believe that the players wouldn't have known how much money each other player was on. I mean, I know for myself that in my workplace, I don't go around saying how much I earn, how much do you earn, sort of thing. Look, the players very well may have known, but in saying that, I don't think they would have. But look, call me crazy if you want to, but they may have. And look, you still have to beat on the field who is in front of you. Unfortunately, the Eels couldn't do it that day. I think it was 23 points to 16. A great grand final. One of the greatest grand final tries you've ever seen. That game was from Fuifui Moimoi, barnstorming front rower. I think it was about 30 metres, 40 metres out. It was ridiculous, that try in the corner from Big Fui. And there was a little bit of a momentum shift, I believe, in that game when he scored that try. So, and then, unfortunately, he did get a penalty ruled against him for I think it was a lift of the leg, which gave Melbourne a little bit more of a lead. And then Greg Inglis has kicked the field goal for Melbourne. In regards to should Parramatta have gotten that grand final premiership win, no, I don't believe so. We do see in the Olympics, in, say, for example, 1988, the Ben Johnson affair, the 100 metres, the Canadian Ben Johnson, he was the winner on the day. It subsequently came out later that he was disqualified due to drug use, and Carl Lewis from America, the silver medal on that day, was promoted to the gold, and the bronze medal winner was promoted to silver, etc. That happens in the Olympics, and that's what they do. Can you do that in rugby league? No, I don't think so. I think that should just be null and void as what it is now. I think on the NRL registers there's no premiership winner for 2009, and I think it's 2007 as well that the NRL stripped Melbourne of. So I don't think that the other team on that day, which was Manly and Parramatta, Manly in 2007, Parramatta 2009, I don't think it should be awarded to them. And look, the reason for that is because that's not what we do in rugby league. We seem to just strip those winners of that if something is done wrong and not within the rules. And also, there's a whole lot of other things that you have to think about as well. The fans, they can't celebrate a grand final victory like you normally would when that full-time hooter goes. We, as Parramatta fans, can't go back and celebrate that grand final victory. Even if the NRL did say, yes, Parramatta are the premiers for 2009, it just wouldn't sit right. It's not the same feeling. How can you celebrate something that happened, 15 years ago? So that's the fan part of it. And because, that's what all the fans want to do. They want to celebrate their team winning the premiership. The other thing is the players as well. They've gone through that loss of a grand final, that hard feeling on the field when that 80-minute hooter goes, siren, and they go through that pain of losing that grand final. So how could they accept a premiership victory? I think Hindy said it in his interview with myself a long time ago now. I think it's episode number 50. He probably, I think I remember him saying that he actually wouldn't want the premiership awarded to Parramatta. It just wouldn't feel right for him. So that's from the players' perspective as well. And look, just all the marketing and all the ads and stuff that come out through that, all the merchandise, all the money lost that you could have got if you won the premiership, that you can't do premiership merchandise. It just wouldn't be the same if it was awarded to Parramatta now. So look, I don't think, I'm like you, Darren, I don't think it should be awarded to Parramatta. There's probably plenty of other people who say that it should be, but I'm a no of that one as well. Look, they're the only couple of questions that I got, so I thought I'd just jump on and do a little bit of a chat about those two answers. So thank you very much, Jesse and Darren, for responding back to the questions. Now, look, I will chuck up every now and again a questionnaire, I guess you could say, whether it would be about Parramatta or whether it would be about the NRL as well, because I like to talk about it and I like to get your feedback and questions, and I hope you like to listen to my thoughts as well. Just quickly, the other story that I put up before that was one specifically for Parramatta fans as well, that what were they doing with Parramatta having the bye in round 16. Darren, again, getting some inspiration, I guess. He watched the 81, 2, 3 and 86 grand finals. Now, this is another little point there that he has added on there. Kenny's 86 no try today would be given 100%. So that's a good debate question there. It'd be interesting to see with the bunker and their technology how and if they could go back, get that footage and have a look at that try. I'm assuming he is saying, I'm assuming he might be thinking about the possible double movement try. I'm only guessing there, as Kenny had 2 tries disallowed in that 86 grand final. I think the first one with the kick from Sterlo that bounced pretty high, I think he may have knocked on that one. So I think he is talking about the double movement try. So if you just let me know, Darren, which try you're thinking about. But as I said, I think it's that try. But it'd be interesting to see what the bunker would say these days with these technology. And another one from, obviously, a Parramatta fan, Lucas Contraferis. I hope I pronounced that one correctly, mate. Thank you very much for supporting the Paracave podcast and following it. And he just bought a drum for next home games, for the next Parramatta home games. And I do believe the next Parramatta home game is against South Sydney on a Thursday night, I think it is. So that one's coming up soon. So that's good, mate. And that's obviously to get the crowd involved, get that crowd participation. That's what we want to hear as fans at the games, the crowd participation. When it comes to trying to inspire the guys on the field, the players on the field. And look, some of the players that I've spoken to on podcasts, when they talk about the crowds, especially the Parramatta players that I speak to, they do say that they sometimes get a lift. They do get a lift on the field when they have that whole crowd support behind them. They can hear them chanting, so they do get a lift. They do try harder on the field, and they do get that lift, that motivation to try harder and do better. And sometimes you can see it with a big hit or a good run or even a try or something like that. So that's good, Lucas, mate, for getting that one out. No doubt I'll hear that one at CommBank Stadium at the next home game. So thank you very much for responding to that one. But as I said, I'll chuck up on the Instagram page here and there some questionnaires. So if you'd like to get involved, please respond back to those ones. I think I did one a couple of weeks ago now, whilst I was watching the football one night, and I did respond back through just the usual channels, the videos, but I think I would also like to do it through a podcast as well for everybody to hear it as well. So if you've got any other topics that you would like me to talk about, please send me a message, let me know, and I'll gather a few of them up and we'll do another little bit of a podcast like this as well. Thank you very much for listening. That's all I've got on this one. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much for listening. Graham Atkins' interview is out now. I will be getting out a game day preview of State of Origin number 2. What am I talking about? Number 2 being played at the MCG, and I'll also be putting out on Instagram a sneak peek of an interview that I did this morning, and it will be coming out in a couple of weeks' time with a State of Origin player, a player who is etched in Origin folklore, and when you see who it is, you'll know why he is etched in Origin folklore. But that one will be coming out very soon on the Instagram page, so stay tuned for that one. A bit of a sneak peek of a upcoming guest. So thank you very much. Enjoy your Origin. Hopefully your team wins. For me, hopefully New South Wales get the win and square the series up and take it to a decider up in Brisbane. Until next time, the Para Cave podcast by the fan, for the fans. Go Para!
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Parramatta Podcast. See you next time.